From homeless to millionaire, the black nanny and the poor woman's rise. William Moore used to walk into rooms like he owned the air itself. The kingpin of a tech empire, control held tight in his steel grip. But now, his company teetered on the edge of collapse, millions vanishing like smoke, and his name whispered in shocked, worried tones. Rumors swirled faster than wildfire. Moore's empire is crumbling, some said. Others asked, can he even save it? The man once untouchable looked more like a ghost haunted by his own mistakes. Oliver, his teenage son, barely recognized the man who came home at midnight. Trembling hands, clutching cold coffee cups, empty eyes staring past him. The silence between them was thick, suffocating. William's voice cracked whenever he tried to connect. Oliver's back remained turned, a stubborn wall, a painful reminder that business had eaten their family. Enter Sophia Sands. No one expected the nanny to be more than a caretaker, but Sophia was Day. She arrived like a shadow, slipping through cracks, self-taught, brilliant beyond belief. Rumors about her past? Murky. Some spoke in hushed tones about the street corners she'd navigated, the countless nights she'd dared to dream bigger than the cold sidewalk, the kind of woman who never gave up, the kind who watches and waits. One rainy afternoon, while feeding Oliver and keeping the house from drowning in chaos, Sophia stumbled upon William's company files. The code, the software, a lethal bug hiding beneath layers, threatening to blow the company sky high. Her fingers flew over the keyboard, eyes narrowing with a fierce spark. No whiteboard, no fancy degree, just raw talent and intuition clashing with years of polished arrogance. William's jaw dropped when she called him in. "I found it," she said, voice steady but fierce. "If we don't fix this soon, you're done." That moment was electric, an echo shaking William deep inside, a crack in his armor he never thought he'd feel. For once, someone saw him, not as a CEO, but as a man fighting for survival, and maybe, just maybe, something more. But just as hope flickered, a shadow moved closer. A rival with a cold smile, ready to pounce on William's vulnerabilities, whispering poison into the ears of board members and journalists alike. A ruthless player hungry to snatch the crown from a king faltering on his throne. William had to decide, how far would he go to protect this unexpected ally? How much could he risk to keep Sophia in his world? The weight pressed down on his chest like a storm ready to break. The empire or the woman, ambition or loyalty, and deeper still, the cost of opening his heart when fear clawed at every instinct. From the shadows of his high-rise, with the neon city humming below, William looked at Sophia, her fierce intelligence, her quiet strength. It shattered everything he thought he knew about success and power. The conference was days away. The moment to prove himself wasn't just to the world, but to all the parts of himself he'd left behind. Could he rise, not just as the CEO who never lost, but as the man willing to change? The question hung heavy, dangerous, thrilling, impossible to ignore. What happens next? Who will survive the storm? And above all, can love really rewrite the rules of an empire built on fear? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, hit that powerful like button. It really helps with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. William stared at Sophia, his mind racing. She was brilliant, no doubt, an unexpected ray of hope in his crumbling world. But the shadows in his mind were darker than the night. He didn't know how long he had before the rival swooped in for the kill. Determined, William leaned forward, ready to play this high-stakes game. "What do we do?" His voice was low, urgent. The stress must have painted dark circles under his eyes. Sophia felt that weight, the heaviness of expectation. Her eyes sparkled with resolve. "We isolate the bug, perhaps create a patch, but we need time." She glanced at Oliver, who had been glancing at them from the kitchen doorway, a flash of worry crossing his face. "And support." Just then, a loud crash shattered the atmosphere. William's phone slid from the table, the screen shattering on impact. The sound rang in his ears, a metaphor for everything falling apart. His heart raced as Oliver jumped. What was that? The living room door swung open. A stranger stood there, drenched from the rain, his sopping hair clinging to his forehead. The family had never seen him before. William's pulse quickened. Something felt wrong. "That's him," the stranger said, pointing a finger at William. "The father of my child." The words echoed, frozen in time. The tremor in Sophia's hand matched the fear creeping into William's chest. "Who are you?" William's voice was barely a whisper, the air around him thick and suffocating. The shadows in the corners seemed to stretch out, cloaking everything in doubt. "I'm David. My daughter. She's your daughter. Mia. She's sick. I need your help." The man's eyes were wild, panicked, almost pleading. Shock pulsed through William like electricity. A daughter? He had a daughter? Anger suffocated him. Deception danced around him like a living creature, twisting everything he believed. He had spent years buried in his empire, but had never stopped to look back. In one frail moment, his entire life crumbled under the weight of new truth. What? What are you talking about?" He looked between the stranger and Sophia. The room tilted as if the ground had shifted beneath him, and he struggled to stay upright. Sophia's expression morphed from concern to realization as she caught his eye, horror etching deep lines on her forehead. "Did she know? I was going to tell you, but..." The man's voice choked as he stepped closer. "But I lost contact. I thought I'd never see you again." Oliver's confusion morphed into full-blown anger. His fists clenched tight. "Get away from my dad," he shouted, panic bubbling below his calm exterior. "Oliver, stop!" Sophia interjected, stepping between them. But William stood frozen, his insides twisting in anguish. Did he have a daughter? His mind whirled, a mix of disbelief and betrayal. "This is impossible," he whispered, gripping the table for support. Words piled up in his throat, heavy with shame and fear. What had he missed? What had he done? David took a shaky breath. "The truth doesn't change. She needs you. Please." The confession hung in the air, thick and suffocating, shattering relationships, unraveling loyalty. Who was this man really? And what did this mean for the empire? For Sophia? The warmth of hope felt icy now. William gazed into Sophia's eyes, searching for answers, but all he saw was confusion. Would she stay? Could they navigate this storm together? The questions scratched at him, a whispered doubt growing louder. The conference was days away. Did he have what it took to protect everything, or would he lose it all even before he could try? The storm raged closer, and the air crackled with tension. What would happen next? The weight of the unknown loomed large, leaving a chilling silence that whispered of chaos to come. William's heart raced, caught in disbelief, like a dog chasing its own tail. The weight of the revelation pressed down on him. He had a daughter whose name echoed in his mind like a haunting melody. Mia. The unknown, cold and sharp, wrapped around him, and he felt the blood drain from his face. Sophia stepped back, her wide eyes darting between David and William. She searched for something, an anchor, a sign that everything would be okay. But this was no fairy tale, and the reality was grim. Oliver's breathing quickened, panic tightening its grip. "We have to call the police! Get away from him!" The stubborn teenager's voice cracked, but the fire behind it burned bright. He clenched his fists, ready to protect the father he barely knew anymore. "Stop!" William snapped, the sting of his own yell silencing the room. "Everyone just needs to hear this." Words tumbled out, frantic and desperate. I don't even know if this is real." David's eyes glistened, vulnerability leaking from his facade. "It's real," he insisted, his fingers trembling. "Mia is sick. We've been running from someone dangerous. You're the only one who can help." "She needs a father," he continued, voice breaking. "You can't turn your back now." Tension rippled in the air, thick and electric. Doubt twisted alongside urgency as shadows crept closer, darkening William's world. Trust felt like glass, fragile, teetering on the brink of shattering. Sophia inhaled sharply, burning with a fierce resolve. She stepped toward William, placing a hand on his arm. "You have a choice, William, a real choice." Her voice quivered, raw yet steady. "We can figure this out together." But the moment hung, heavy and suffocating. Then, boom! The earth shook with a concussive blast, rattling the windows and sending everyone to the floor. "What the?" Oliver shouted, eyes wide with terror. A smoke-filled explosion jolted up from the corridor, dark clouds swirling into their safe haven. Chaos erupted. Sophia pulled Oliver close, shielding him from the chaos around them. William staggered back, mind racing once more. This was no random act. "Get down!" he yelled, fear forcing its way into his voice. He spotted the front door. Could they escape? In an instant, a tall figure appeared through the smoke, wearing a mask, face obscured. A weapon glinted in the dim light, the intruder limping forward, cold intent etched in their posture. "William Moore," the figure growled. "It's time to pay your debts." The world fell silent around them, as David moved protectively in front of Mia. If she were somehow alive, the ultimate revelation of their dangerously interconnected lives. Each person in the room felt the grind of fate shifting. William's mind replayed every miscalculation, every lie, every moment when he'd chosen ambition over connection. Would he save his empire, his family? Or would this moment define him as a failure now and forever? The walls felt like they were closing in, a vice tightening around his chest. And amid the panic, another thought stabbed through. Who was the real enemy? Choices loomed before them. What was left to salvage? What would they risk? As syncopated heartbeats raced against uncertainty, a decision awaited. The air smoldered from the smoke and tension, and William stood on the edge of everything he held dear. Behind the veil of darkness, secrets lurked. What truth lay hidden in the chaos? Could he confront it in time? The storm was just beginning. The world felt like it was falling apart around them. The figure in the doorway loomed, cold and menacing. William's heart thundered in his chest. He couldn't breathe. The light from the hallway flickered and dimmed, accentuating the tension wrapping around them like a vice. And then, before anyone could react, the intruder lunged forward. "Stay back!" David shouted, pushing Mia behind him. But the masked figure crashed into the room, sending chairs toppling. William's instincts kicked in. He sprang into action, lifting a nearby table as a makeshift shield. "Get Oliver and Sophia out!" he yelled, adrenaline surging. Smoke filled the air, stinging his eyes. The chaos amplified, screams echoing throughout the house as Sophia grabbed Oliver and ducked towards the kitchen. William's mind was racing, a father's instinct, a CEO's logic colliding within him. He had to protect them, but he didn't know if his empire had crumbled completely already. With a surge of courage, he charged toward the intruder. The mask, dark and foreboding, began to unveil a figure of someone familiar. The masked intruder threw off the disguise, face revealing sharp features and a knowing grin. "Surprise!" The voice dripped with malice. "Did you honestly think I would forget, William? You thought you could abandon our past?" William's stomach dropped. Lucas, his old rival, the one who vowed revenge, stood relentless before him. Years of blood, sweat, and betrayal swirled in the air, each memory cutting deeper. Lucas thrived on chaos. William had always known this. "Tell me, how does it feel to be at the edge, William? Did everything you built become worthless?" Lucas taunted, eyes glinting with hatred. Panic coursed through William. "What do you want?" he demanded, hands trembling, voice low and furious. "Oh, just a little payback," Lucas replied, a cruel smile curling his lips. "But it's not just you. It's about your family. You see, I've always kept my secrets close, like yours." The reality struck like a pit in William's gut. The truth behind Lucas's words haunted him. What had he missed in his relentless race for success? His knees went weak. Meanwhile, Sophia's eyes burned with urgency. "William," she shouted, "we need to go. Now." Her voice broke through the tension like a beacon. But as William turned, as if sent by fate, the facade of control slipped. Then Lucas's words hit like a hammer. "Oh, and you'll love this part. You have a daughter, don't you?" He leaned in, thrill dancing in his voice. "Tell me, how does it feel to have lost her without even knowing?" That shattered everything. The air thickened with desperation. A daughter? Mia was sick, but he still couldn't grasp the reality of Lucas's claim. Oliver stood frozen in the doorway, eyes wide, lip trembling. A fracture opened in the family, a rift broader than William ever anticipated. "Dad, what?" he stammered, searching his father's face for truth. Mia, feeling the weight of her father's silence, called out, "Daddy, I need you." Her voice broke, a whisper fading into the chaos. Something raw ignited in William. Everything he had fought for now spiraled into turmoil. "No, this isn't true," he declared, his voice cracking. "You're lying." Lucas laughed, a cruel sound that echoed around them. "Am I? Or are you just too far gone to see the truth?" His grin widened, a wolf savoring the scent of blood. In that moment, betrayal lanced through William. He could lose everything, all that he built, all that he loved. He was a man on the edge, lost in shadows of himself, realizing there was so much more at stake than his empire. Sophia's hand tightened around his arm. "William, focus." As urgency gripped her, The fire in her eyes matched the blazing reality crashing around them. "Will you let him destroy you?" she urged, pushing him to take action. Then, as Lucas raised a weapon, a resounding crack shattered through the air. An explosion echoed close by, rattling the windows and thrusting the room into total chaos. The crisis spiraled, feeding Lucas's mad energy. "Run!" William shouted, knowing this was their moment. But as they turned to escape, the truth clawed at the corners of his mind. In the darkness, alliances shifted. Trust shattered. Mia's voice rang out, a jarring echo. "Who are you really, Dad?" The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Each heartbeat pulsed with fear. Everything was unraveling. Who was he? The powerful businessman? The distant father? Or something much, much darker? It was all crumbling. William's heart raced, realization dawning too late. The storm was just beginning, and one thing was clear. The real fight had now begun. The storm was just beginning, and William's heart pounded like a war drum. He whipped around to look at Sophia. And for a brief moment, time froze. Her eyes were wide, searching his face for an answer to a question unasked. Then Oliver's voice sliced through the tension again, shaking William from his paralysis. "Dad, we have to go!" But Lucas stepped closer, weapon raised, a shadow cast over them all. "You really think you can run?" He twisted the gun in a tight grip, eyes gleaming with malice. "This was never just about you, William. It's always been about the legacy you're leaving behind." Before another breath could be taken, the room shuddered, and a blinding light erupted from behind Lucas. A sickening blast of heat hit them, followed by a rumble that shook the place to its core. The walls trembled, and every light flickered, as if the world itself was unraveling. Suddenly, the floor beneath Lucas buckled, and he stumbled, losing his hold on the gun. It clattered to the ground, echoing like a death knell. William's breath caught. This was their chance. But that's when everything changed. The blinding light dimmed, revealing a figure shrouded in a black cloak. The air crackled around them, charged with energy, a presence that was both intimidating and uplifting. The masked figure glided forward, revealing sharp features. But the eyes, those familiar eyes, sent shockwaves through the room. "William?" It was a voice he knew too well, echoing through his very soul. Is that you?" Trembling, William took a step back. No, it couldn't be. "Leela? But you're dead?" interjected, a smirk dancing on her lips. "Thought you could get rid of me that easily?" Every memory flooded William's mind. Her laughter, her passion, the way she breathed life into everything. Photos from their past now felt like twisted dreams. Why hadn't he felt her presence all these years? Why hadn't he searched hard? David, still towering protectively over Mia, stumbled back, confusion writ large on his face. "What is happening?" Leela waved a dismissive hand, her attention honing in on William. "I've come to collect what's mine." "Yours?" He couldn't process the reality before him. "You mean the company? The empire?" "No," she said, voice sharp like glass. "I'm talking about our daughter. You thought you could ignore her?" With those words, the air thickened, carrying an ache deeper than anything he knew. A child, a daughter lost to time and betrayal. The truth unfurled like a nightmare he had long suppressed. Oliver shouted, "What are you saying?" His small voice cracked, disbelief swirling around him like a storm. "She's alive, Oliver." Lila's fierce gaze caught his son's, drowning him in confusion. "And she needs you both." A gasp escaped from Sophia. She pressed closer to Oliver, protectively. You can't be serious. Mia? Yes, Mia is part of both of us, Lila spat, urgency tinged with something much darker. That was the debt I was speaking of. The floor trembled again, this time sending vibrations of desperation through William's chest. Mia, he felt sick at the thought. Nervous laughter bubbled from Lucas, shaking his head in disbelief. You're trying to pull him back into your mess? All of this chaos is because of you, Lila replied fiercely, pointing at Lucas, who grimaced, knocked off balance by the confrontation. You've toyed with forces that should have died along with me, including the truth about Mia. The tension split the air, thick like fog, each pulse of a heart echoing in the chaos. William froze, the truth wrapping around him like chains. Doubt clawed at him. What had he built on the ruins of everything he'd lost? "William!" Lila called, urgency in her voice, but all he could do was stare. The world became a blurred haze of reality. Who was the enemy now, and what truths remained hidden? His heart raced, fingers trembling. As the confrontation unfolded, he felt seconds stretch into lifetimes, choices colliding with the weight of countless regrets. And in that moment, at the precipice of revelation, as the tempest around them reached fever pitch, the question stung sharper than a knife. Who was he really fighting for? William stood frozen, his heart racing, Lila's presence overwhelming everything he once thought he knew. "No," he whispered, eyes darting between her and the chaos unfolding around them. "Mia, she needs us. We need to figure this out." But Lila's smile twisted, tinged with bitterness. "Figure it out? You should have thought about that when you chose power over family." The words cut deep, slashing through the remnants of his defenses. She had twisted the knife. "You don't understand," he pleaded, instinctively backing away, fear clawing at his throat. "I was lost, Lila. I didn't know." "Enough," Lucas interrupted, his voice booming through the whirlwind, face contorted with rage. "This is pathetic. All this drama over a child you abandoned?" His finger jutted towards William, eyes blazing with accusations. "Don't you dare!" William began. But a sound echoed, a sudden crash that shattered the tension. The front door burst open, and a wave of police officers stormed in, shouting orders, filling the air with urgency and authority. William's pulse quickened, eyes darting as they filled the room. "Get down!" he shouted instinctively to Oliver and Sophia. The officers fanned out, guns drawn. "Hands up!" one barked, his voice sharp as glass. Lila's demeanor changed instantly. She turned, her expression shifting from fierce to calm, almost predatory. "You don't want to do this," she said, voice steady. "You don't know who you're messing with." The officers hesitated, confusion flickering across their faces. William's heart thudded painfully. "What does she mean?" he muttered to Sophia, fear creeping into his veins. Suddenly, Lila smirked, even chuckled, that dark mirth sending chills down William's spine. "Did you think you could forget me? I have people, William, real people, and they don't care about the law." The air grew thick, heavy with dread. What had she gotten involved in? With trembling hands, he reached out, but a forceful grip caught his wrist. Lucas had seized the moment. "William," Lucas snarled, drawing closer again, "you thought you could just walk away? This is where it ends." "Don't touch him," Sophia shouted, her voice fierce, stepping forward, a lioness protecting her cub. But the scene shifted. Just as the officers began to surround them, A deafening explosion rocked the building. Windows shattered. Debris fell, and smoke billowed in. The world twisted, time slowing as chaos erupted. "Ollie!" William shouted, diving to shield his son. Then, from within the clouds of dust, a shrill cry pierced the air. Mia's voice. "Daddy!" William's heart dropped. An icy fear washed over him. She was here? In the chaos? "Where is she?" he yelled, panic driving him forward. But he was lost in a whirlwind of confusion and smoke. Then Lila's gaze pierced through the tumult. "You think this is just about gunfire?" she spat, her voice ringing out amidst the noise. "You need to know the truth, William." And in that moment, she stepped forward, the chaos swirling around them, as if she were the eye of the storm. "Mia is part of an organization far more powerful than you understand. We've been watching you, waiting for this moment." William's breath caught in his throat. "You're lying. You've put her in danger." "No, dear. I've done what needed to be done to keep her safe." The words twisted like a knife, cold and ruthless. Before he could respond, the air crackled. Sirens blared outside. Yet all he could focus on was Leela's piercing gaze, the truth in her words, turning the ground beneath him into quicksand. How could they protect Mia now? The storm had transformed. Chaos was not just the explosion, but the startling truth that lurked beneath. The walls began to close in, shadows thickening. William felt the weight of every decision he'd ever made crash down around him. "What have you done?" he whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. Dread and a flicker of something else. Was it hope or betrayal? He glanced at Sophia and Oliver, fear reflecting in their eyes. They were all caught in this web of secrets, and now everything was more tangled than before. Could they really escape this chaos? As the smoke swirled, thick with danger, and the sirens approached, William realized the fight was far from over. The future was a question mark, dangling above their heads, and where it led, no one could tell. The storm had transformed. Chaos was not just the explosion, but the startling truth that lurked beneath. The walls began to close in, shadows thickening around William as he felt the weight of every decision crashing down on him. "I need to know," he whispered to Leela, his voice trembling. "Where is Mia?" Suddenly, the door behind the police officers exploded open. A masked figure darted inside, fast, agile, slipping unnoticed into the fray. The light flickered, temporarily casting a silhouette, but William caught a hint of familiarity in the way they moved. "Mom!" Oliver shouted, his voice barely rising above the din. William's heart stopped. There, steering through the chaos, was another familiar figure, his late brother, Charlie. Leela's eyes widened, shock overriding her previous confidence. "Charlie? But you were gone!" As the officers tried to regain control, another explosion echoed outside, the sound booming like thunder. Dust swirled around them, and the lights dimmed. Charlie stepped further into the room, his face partially obscured by the mask, but revealed enough to send chills coursing through William's veins. "Surprise, brother," Charlie called out, voice steady and calm. Not the frantic energy of a ghost returned, but rather someone long premeditated in this moment. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" William's chest tightened. "You died. I thought you were dead." "I did die, but I was reborn in something far greater. And now you stand in my way." Charlie's voice boomed, and the very air shifted. Suddenly, a collective gasp resonated through the room. The officers stood paralyzed, caught between disbelief and danger, weapons still drawn. Time hung thick, each heartbeat echoed like a ticking clock. "Get away from him!" Lila yelled, voice sharp with urgency. "Mom, don't!" Oliver shrieked, eyes darting between his father and the uncle he thought was gone forever. Charlie stepped forward, eyes gleaming with an unsettling mix of affection and malice. "You couldn't see, could you, brother? I was always in your shadow, always the one overlooked. But now, I'm back to take what is rightfully mine." His gaze locked with William's, a dark intensity igniting the air around them. "What do you want?" William's voice cracked, fear mingling with shock, emotions roiling like a storm. "This isn't who you are." "Isn't it?" Charlie laughed, the sound echoing and twisted. "You sealed your fate when you chose your empire over family. While you chased success, I was building something of my own. Something powerful." "Stop!" William shouted, desperation rising in his chest. He felt sweat trickle down his back, panic consuming him. In a flash, Charlie pulled out an object from his coat, a device that pulsed with an ominous glow. "With this, I can erase all of your precious memories. All that you've built will disappear." "But I'll keep Mia, because she's meant to be with me." "No!" William's voice shattered, adrenaline coursing through his body. "You don't understand what you're doing." Mia's name echoed like a trembling bell in the distance, and for a moment, everything else faded away. What kind of monster would Charlie become? The police officers moved in slowly, the tension snapping like a taut string. "Put that down!" one shouted, voice firm but shaking. But then chaos erupted again. Suddenly, a blinding flash came from Charlie's device, illuminating the room. William squinted, filled with a pulse of energy that felt like it was wrenching memory and reality apart. "Charlie, don't!" An overwhelming sense of panic filled the air, and as the flash settled, William felt the reality twist around him. Nothing made sense anymore. And amidst the confusion, a horrifying realization crashed over him like icy water. What if everything had been a lie? What if he had lost more than just memories? In that moment, the room shifted. The weight of fate hung heavy, questions swirling in the darkness. Would they survive this? What had Charlie unleashed? Racked with confusion, emotions rolling deep inside, William stood at the crossroads of destruction and a desperate chance for redemption. What truth had he really been fleeing from? As the dust settled, the world felt more fragile than ever, poised on the brink of disaster. The room felt like it was collapsing in on itself. The truth hung heavy, and the air crackled with tension. Charlie's menacing presence overshadowed everything. William's heart raced like a wild horse. What had he unleashed? What power did his brother possess? Suddenly, the device in Charlie's hand flickered ominously. "This will rewrite everything," he shouted, eyes gleaming with madness. "You'll forget your failures, your regrets, your family, and in return, I'll gain control over all you cherish." "Charlie, no!" William's voice broke, panic swelling in his chest. But before he could take a step, a blinding flash erupted from the device, painting everything in hues of blinding white. The sound of glass shattering rang through the air, the light encompassing them like a prison. But then, silence. As the light faded, William struggled to regain his bearings. He blinked rapidly, trying to shake the disorientation. What happened? He squinted around the room, recognizing eerily familiar faces. Suddenly, they were all staring at him. The police officers stood frozen, mouths agape. Leela, Oliver, and Sophia were all there, eyes locked on him with a mix of awe and fear. "William?" Sophia's voice broke through. Her brow knotted in confusion. "Did it work?" Charlie sneered, turning towards the window. "They won't call for backup now. They'll think twice about coming here. Because now," he grinned like a man possessed, "they're part of the show." William's heart dropped. "What did you do?" The masked figure, Charlie's ally, stepped forward, revealing a face cloaked in shadows. "You'll never know what you really are." "What does that mean?" Lila pressed, her voice trembling. Realization watched over William in waves. His breath froze in his throat. "I am... what?" The masked figure chuckled, dark and low. "You've been living a lie. You're not who you think you are, William. This family, this empire..." Their voice echoed in the stillness, each word slicing deeper. "All an illusion." "Stop it!" Oliver shouted, fists clenched. "You don't know him." "Do I not?" the figure taunted, stepping closer, exposing an aura that sent shivers down William's spine. "You're so wrapped up in your own story, you forgot who you are. But in reality, you're a pawn. You always were." Panic exploded in William's chest like shrapnel. "What have you done? Who are you to—" Charlie interrupted. "Who am I? I'm your brother, and I know the truth. You forgot what you were meant to do, what our father left us. We were supposed to be kings, not mere shadows of our past." The weight crashed down. Darkness flickered in William's vision. "An illusion?" he whispered. Desperation twinged in his gut. Memories rushed through his mind, twisted and broken. "You're lying!" But Charlie's gaze hardened. "Am I? Or are you just too afraid to see? You think you're the rightful heir. You're merely a vessel, and I..." He turned with a flourish, the light shifting, revealing the truth balled within his hand. "I possess what was taken from us." Then it happened. The ground trembled, and the building shook. An earthquake? No, it was something more sinister, a force ripping through reality itself. The flickering lights dimmed, and William braced for impact. "Mia! Where is Mia?" he screamed, the clamor around him drowning, as panic surged to the surface. Shadows coalesced, now swirling dangerously, and for one harrowing moment, it felt as if everything was about to collapse. Then, above the chaos, a voice rang out, sharp, crystalline. "Daddy!" William's heart seized. There was Mia, standing against the flickering shadows, light streaming to her like a beacon. She held a small object, a simple key glowing with power. "I found this. It belongs to you." "Where did you get that?" William's voice trembled, eyes wide, prayer mingling with fear. "I don't know, but it's important. You need it." She shone bright, unyielding against the encroaching darkness. "No!" Charlie's scream tore through the air, a cry of despair, dread, and betrayal. "You foolish girl! You don't know what you're doing." As Mia stepped toward William, the device flickered, shadows twisting around it. Would this key unlock the truth, change everything? Or was it just another cruel twist in this game? William stood at the precipice of a revelation, heart racing, unsure of what came next. The room pulsed with a strange energy. Mia clutched the glowing key tightly, her small fingers trembling but determined. William's gaze never left her. "Where did you get that?" Panic bled into his voice. "It's important." "I found it in the garden," she shouted, her eyes bright with urgency. "Come on, Dad, we can use it." But Charlie sneered, the corrupted excitement turning his face harsh. "She doesn't know what she's holding," he bellowed, desperation creeping into his tone, almost as if he feared the very thing Mia clutched. "That key is nothing but a shortcut to your ruin. "Stop!" Leela shouted, stepping forward, her posture protective. "Mia, stay close. You don't understand. Whatever that key is, it holds more power than you realize." William felt the air crackle. The atmosphere thickened with every heartbeat, the tension hanging like a storm about to break. "Charlie, don't you dare! You can't take her!" The words fell from his lips, fierce and pleading. "Isn't that rich?" Charlie retorted, his voice low and mocking. "You think you can protect her when you're the reason for this chaos? You can't even save yourself!" And just like that, in the churning tide of emotion, a chilling realization gripped William's heart. "What do you mean?" The weight of Charlie's words sank slowly into his chest, anchoring him in dread. "Don't play dumb, brother," Charlie spat, a wicked grin splitting his face. "We lost everything because you couldn't see the future. Our father had plans for us, plans that you foolishly abandoned. And now," he gestured wildly, encompassing everyone, "now it's time for resurgence." But as he spoke, the key in Mia's hand began to glow brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Dad, it feels special," she exclaimed, innocence weaving through her voice. "Just throw it away," Oliver shouted, panic echoing through him, his fists clenched in fear. Before anyone could react, an explosion rocked the ground beneath them. The building trembled violently, knocking everyone off their feet. The light from the key blazed like a beacon, illuminating the chaos that unfolded. William's heart slammed in his chest. "Mia!" he screamed, scrambling to his feet. But she was gone, disappeared into a blinding flash that filled the entire room. "What just happened?" Leela yelled, eyes wide. The dust settled, and as William blinked into the thick fog, he saw something or someone stepping from the shadows. A figure draped in a white cloak, face obscured, emerged like a phantom. "Welcome back." The voice was soft, yet powerful, low like the rumble of thunder. William froze, confusion washing over him. "Who are you?" His throat tightened with fear. Then it hit him like a punch. "Is it Mia?" The figure let down the hood to reveal a face that was hauntingly familiar. But not Mia. It was Leela. "So, you recognize me, in a way," she said, a smile shimmering across her lips that felt wrong. Something was off. "To become all we were meant to be, sacrifices must be made." "What did you do?" Fear clawed at William as realization began to sink in. "What sacrifices? Where is Mia?" "She's safe. For now." Leela's eyes glowed with an alien brightness. "But the key will unlock the darkness our father feared." "You refused to accept it, and now," Charlie interjected, rage exploding. "You're a fool, Lila. You think a child can save us? Let the past die." "No," William shouted, the panic spilling from him like venom. "You can't mean that. She can't be part of this." But Lila stepped closer, her expression changing, twisting into something more devious, a look that sent shivers through him. "It's far too late for that. The true legacy demands acceptance of darkness, of light, and all the shades in between." William's chest tightened. A lump formed in his throat. "What are you saying?" Suddenly, the key blazed. A rush of energy surged forward, enveloping the room, the colors merging, fighting the air with shock and awe. In a blink, Lila's form flickered like a flame, and something else stirred in her depths. A shadowed figure, waiting to break free. "Mia!" William croaked, fear igniting his heart. "You are Mia!" "That little girl?" Lila's smile widened, revealing sharp teeth, an echo of fondness gone grotesque. "She was just the start. I've come to claim everything he left behind, including you." And in that instant, the truth shattered. William staggered back, realization dawning cruelly sharp. Everything was intertwined: his past, his present, and the haunting legacy of choices made long before he could even grasp their weight. Could he rescue his daughter? Could he save himself from the shadows looming before him? As the chaos raged on, he feared the battle wasn't just against Charlie or Lila. It was against the very fabric of who they all were. "Let's see what the real fight is," Charlie grinned, darkness curling around him. "And I intend to win." The world spun, the energy crackling around them, relationships severed and forged anew. What were the real stakes of this family, divided by secrets? And who would emerge from the ashes once the storm finally passed? There was a moment of stillness, a breath held tight in the air, as the dark figure of Lila morphed back into a glimpse of what once was. The light from the key in Mia's hand glowed brighter, casting a warm halo that pushed back the shadows, a flicker of hope against the chaos. "Mia, don't!" William shouted, reaching out, his heart pounding like thunder. She stood firm, determination etched on her small face. The fears of the world folded around her, yet she held on, little hands gripping the key like a lifeline. "Daddy, I have to try," she replied, voice steady despite the confusion swirling around them. "We can't let them win." In that split second, everything unraveled. Charlie lunged forward, desperate to snatch the key, but Lila stepped in front of him. "No, this isn't your right." The clash of wills electrified the room. Mia held the key up high, and the air thickened with energy, tugging at everyone's senses. "You can't take her!" William screamed again, the fight in him awakening, a primal roar against the darkness. As Charlie and Lila collided in a blinding fury, the light from the key burst forth, spilling radiant energy over the chaos. It surged through William, igniting something within, a rage for the family and future he thought he had lost. With one swift motion, he reached for Mia, pulling her against him. The atmosphere shifted, shadows retreated, swallowed by bright glimmers of hope. "You're not defined by our past," William shouted, his voice ringing clear, cutting through the tumult. "Yes," Mia added, her courage shining through. "We're family. We fight together." Charlie's furious expression faltered, then twisted in confusion. "No, this isn't how it's supposed to end." Panic seeped into his words as the walls trembled even more. "Watch closely, brother," Lila said, her voice a resonant thunder, dark and commanding. "This is the moment you've waited for." With that, she lunged toward Mia, but William stepped in front, lifting the key and calling on its energy. "It's not about the legacy, it's about love," he shouted. The key blazed, and a shimmering light engulfed them all. The room shook as truth flooded in, shattering the grasp of darkness. Together, they all cried. William, Mia, Oliver, Sophia. In a blinding flash, they were propelled forward, and then silence. When the light faded, they found themselves in a sunny park, laughter echoing in the air. Mia stood next to them, key still in hand, larger than life blooming in the reality that surrounded them. "What just happened?" Oliver blinked, looking around, incredulous. "I think we did it." William felt weight lift from his chest as he pulled Mia close, relief washing over him like rain after a drought. Lila and Charlie weren't there, the chaos erased as if it had never existed. The key now shimmered softly, a promise of the journey ahead, not just of what had been lost, but of what could be built once more. Will we stay here? Mia asked, eyes wide with wonder. William smiled down at her, heart swelling with warmth. I hope so. Here we can start fresh, together. Sophia took a step closer, holding Oliver's hand. Let's create something new. No more shadows, just light. As the family embraced, laughter echoed through the park, the dark past dissolving like morning mist. But beneath the joy, a whisper lingered. What secrets lay in the shadows? What other hidden truths waited to be uncovered? And as life struck a new optimistic chord, an urgency flickered. Subscribe immediately to the channel to dive deep into the next thrilling chapter. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm so we keep this momentum soaring. Flood the comments section with your amazing reactions and theories. What do you think will happen next? Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait another second to share. Only true fans can make this community thrive.